Welcome to Valencia, and with that to my very first test drive in the brand new Hyundai Ioniq 5. Hyundai is promising a lot with our car, things like loads of space, many driver assistance safety systems as standard, plenty of range, quick charging and a lot of fun while driving. How that car really drives, what else it delivers and how quick is charging, how much is the range and how is the drive, we're going to find out now. The base equipment of the Ioniq 5 is quite nice. So you do always find heated front seats, you do find these 2x 12.5 inch as the digital cockpit and the touchscreen for the infotainment, and many more things you do see in the list at the moment. But of course on top you do have loads and loads of things which you have to pay extra for, but they really do make the car more comfortable, more safe, more your car. And this list is nearly endless. But of course you have to pay extra for every little thing, but I think loads of it is really worth the money. The new Ioniq 5 is 1.89 m in width, which makes it fit perfectly in its segment. Looking at the shape and design of the car, I would say it's nothing unique, nothing very special, or I would say some kind of simple, but on the other hand, this shape and design is so easy, and combined with all these little details, that really makes that car an absolute eye-catcher. And these details, we're going to have a closer look now in detail. So when you look at the front of the car, that always comes as standard with LED headlamps, but you can have so-called projection LED headlamps as well. That depends on what you want to pay for, or if you use a higher trim level. And then when you look at the front and these headlamps, they look like standard headlamps LED with 2 dots, but looking a bit closer, they're quite unique. On top of this, you do find illuminated stripes here at the front bumper, which you would see when it's not as bright in the sun as it is now. And when you go a bit more down with the car, you find a quite clean bumper here and then that area. And that really is something which highlights the front because of this chrome look. And on top you do have these air intakes here, which are dynamic, which means they open and close depending on how much air the engine needs. My Ioniq 5 is featuring the top powertrain, which means we have an all-wheel drive system that features 2 engines, and we do have a maximum output of 225 kilowatts or 305 horsepower. On top of that, the car features 605 newton meters of torque and all-wheel drive. And that really is enough, more than enough for the car, to provide on one hand easy driving. If you want, you can play with the recuperation system and all that stuff, but on the other hand you also find enough power to really have fun with the car and drive it quite dynamic. When you open the hood of the Ioniq 5, you do find a frunk which provides you with 2 different sizes depending on the powertrain. So if you have a front powered car, that offers you up to 57 liters of maximum volume. With the car we're driving, which is an all-wheel drive version, it only delivers 24 liters of maximum capacity, but still enough for having the charging cable and for having this box. What's about this box? We're going to talk about that later. But when we're here, we can talk about the powertrains of the car. For the Ioniq 5, you can order 2 different battery sizes, and with each of these batteries, you can choose between 2 different powertrains. One is a rear power, and the other one is a all-wheel drive version with 2 electric engines. And with that, the car features a power range, depending on the drivetrain, between 125 up to 225 kilowatts of maximum output. The Ioniq 5 always features the most important driver assistance safety systems as standard. So you do find emergency braking, a lane follow assist, and for instance a rear view camera. But of course you can have loads and loads more. Some of them come with the higher trim levels, and others you have to just pay extra for and select piece by piece. But on the other hand, if you do select the right ones, or if you do buy the top trim levels, you can of course talk about semi-autonomous driving already. Our Ioniq is featuring different drive modes, and with that I can select with a button here at the steering wheel between Eco, Normal and Sport. And that not only provides me different view modes of my digital cockpit, it also really changes the behavior of the car. Of course, with Eco, everybody would expect that car will provide less power, will use less energy, and is eco-friendly as possible. That's correct. The normal drive mode, yes, of course, delivers you the standard Ioniq drive you expect, and that works fine. But whenever you change from Eco or normal to sport, you really get a different car, because the whole car gets stiffer, like steering, suspension, drive, how the engine behaves. And whenever I change from here to there, and whenever I push the pedal to the metal, then I do always have a big smile on my face. Something that you can see from the side a bit better than from the front is this so-called clamshell hood. And that doesn't mean anything different than this really is on top of the car and surrounds the car, wrapped around the car. And this is especially something which you can see easily here at these wheel arches. And when we talk about wheel arches, of course, we have to talk about things inside of the wheel arches, and that means we talk about rims and tires. That car now stands on very beautiful tires which are 20-inch in size. Now, that's not the standard for the car. The base model arrives or comes with 19-inch alloys, but these, as well as the 19-inch, are optimized regarding to the drag coefficient. When we look at the car overall, it's 4.64 meters in length, but it features a wheelbase of 3 meters. And that really gives the car, together with its height of about 1.60 meters, its unique shape. And when we look at the design, it's the same as with the front. It's quite simple and easy, but with some details. And one of these details are these lines here. You have this so-called Z design, which is something very unique. And together with that part here, this really promotes the middle of the car, and that makes it look a bit reduced here, which gives extra power to the wheel arches. And so the car looks a lot more dynamic from the side. On top of this, you find details like the stuff here. We do have these little elements here, which provides you with a look of a turning wheel even when the car stands still. Another highlight are these retractable door handles, because they provide you with a better drag coefficient as well. And then another thing up here, you do have this rooftop spoiler, which is open here, and that makes it possible not to use any rear wiper, which is another extra and a benefit regarding to energy. And then when we talk about energy, we talk about the sunroof. You can have a standard panoramic sunroof, but our car is featuring the so-called solar or photovoltaic sunroof, and that provides you with another more than 1.5K extra free kilometers per year if you get enough sun for your car. Talking about the materials and the craftsmanship inside of the Ioniq 5, you do really find very nice colors. For instance, white in our car, gray and black, and that really works perfectly together. I'm not a big fan of this gray, but with the Ioniq 5, I think it fits the car. And together, that provides you a very modern, very fresh and airy look. I really do like this a lot. And then when you look around, you do find soft touch here, you do find soft touch on the dashboard, and even beneath or under the touchscreen, you do find soft touch as well. And when you go more deeper into the car, of course, you do find at some point hard plastic, but nothing you do touch always, or nothing you can instantly recognize and see. Everything is really well made. And so I think there's absolutely nothing to complain about when we talk about the interior craftsmanship or materials of the Ioniq 5. The steering, suspension and braking of the Ioniq 5 really works well for the car. It's direct and precise, but not nervous. So this really provides you with a feeling when you just jump in for the first time and you start driving, you do find a behavior that gives you a very comfort, and cozy feeling while driving. On top of this, you do find the opportunity to change the drive modes regarding to the recuperation, which means you can choose between level 0, level 1, 2, 3, or the so-called I-pedal. And that means nothing different than if you have your foot on the pedal, you do accelerate or will stay with your speed. Whenever you lift your foot off, the car really reduces speed massively. And that provides you with the opportunity to really drive with one pedal. And you do not need to use the brake pedal at all, except when you really need to stop, like an emergency brake. And whenever you get used to that, that really is something very comfortable and extremely nice to drive in the city, for instance. And on top of this, if you say, I don't like it, it's too much for me, you can change it easily. And that then is, the behavior then changes from one pedal drive up to something that is very similar to a standard combustion car with an automatic gearbox. The boot size of the new Ioniq 5 is up to 531 litre with the rear seats up. If you fold down that rear bench completely, that increases up to 1,591 litres, which is about 200 litres less than with a Hyundai Tucson, just to give you something to look at. But when we talk about the space the car offers with the rear seats up, that's a similar size regarding to the one of the Hyundai Tucson. The infotainment system of the Hyundai Ioniq is not only the 12.3-inch touchscreen, it also features loads and loads of stuff behind it. So for sure you do have a sat-nav on board, but if you go to the main menu, you do find things like EV, which provides you with everything connected to the electric drive of the car, like range, when you have to recharge and all the other stuff. But there is many more to explore. So there is not only the navigation, there is the phone, there is the opportunity to do a voice memo. You can do, of course, choose climate to adjust that. You can have the ventilation of the heats adjusted. There is a valet mode to choose. You can choose the quiet mode, which makes the whole of a car very quiet to give your passengers a perfect ride. You do find the memory seats configuration, settings of the car, including the setup for the driver assistance safety systems. You can, of course, adjust the radio, the media. You can, very important with that car, adjust the BlueLink stuff, which gives you the opportunity to use your app to configure and adjust your car from the distance. And you do find something like a voice notice and Hyundai Live data, including things like parking plots and all that stuff. So as said, this really is your modern, typical Hyundai infotainment system, but with the extra for the battery vehicles. From the rear, we have a quite nice view on this rooftop spoiler here, which provides us with a third braking light under this contrast black panel. And as you can see, that really is very long and goes quite over half of our rear black tinted rear window. When we look at the rest of the car at the rear, it looks quite easy, quite clean, like this panel here and this panel here. But as said, we do find many details, like this light bar and the indicators, and they made out of all these little squares, and that really provides this car with a special and absolutely unique look. We look a bit more down, that looks quite easy and clean, but here we do have cuts for these extra taillights and reflections. And when you go a bit more further down, you do have this, which looks a bit like a diffuser, but the surface is like with the front, a contrast color, and that really provides the car from the rear with a so unique look, as we already seen it at the front. Talking about compartments, this car really features some extra. So you do find standard compartments in the doors for the driver and the passenger in the front row as well. But on top of this, if you go to the center, you do find one small compartment at the very front of the car, and then there is this center console, and that really is something special. On one hand, it features two big cup holders, and underneath that you do have the space for your mobile devices to be charged wirelessly. Above that, you do find two USB sockets as well. But behind that one, you do find a massive compartment which is open. I think you can put a small fridge in it if you want. And above that one, you do have the armrest, and under the armrest, there's another compartment as well. And then the trick, I would say, with the center console is it is adjustable, because there's plenty of space in the middle, because we're not driving a combustion engine. So you can choose which position that one should have. So it's adjustable, it slides from the front to the rear, wherever you want to have it. And when you then look to the rear seats, you do find an extra compartment in the center console of the front. You do, of course, find standard compartments on both sides of the doors. And on top of that, two cup holders in the armrest, which you can just fold down to use them as well. The space the car offers here for the driver and the passenger in the front seat really is absolutely fine. So you do see me, I'm nearly 2 meters high, I'm quite heavy, and I do find a perfect position. I have plenty of space around my shoulders, plenty of space with my legs, and headroom left as well. How about the seating behind me? We're going to find out while having a short stop, but before that, I have to tell you the seat the car features is really nice. It's very comfortable, but on top of that, it does feature a load of support as well. And as you can see, the headrest works for a person like me, so really, really nice. And now we're going to stop and see how it is about the space behind me. So this is my short stopover to see if I can sit behind me. I didn't change my seating position. When we open the rear door, you can see massive door which really opens wide, and so that makes entering easy. And wow, I can sit easily upright without touching the sky with my hair. Okay, there is not so much hair, but still fine. And then look in front of my knees, plenty of room. So 10-15 centimeters, that's a lot for such a car. Important to know is, as standard, you can adjust the rear bench. With our car, we do have the extra where you can do that, not mechanically, but electric. Very nice. And this is at the moment at the very end of the adjustment space. But which means I can adjust the boot size, so I can increase the size of my boot even when I sit behind me, just by going a bit more forward without losing all the comfort. And this is really marvelous for this size of a car, because this is still compact. The 125 kilowatt basic version of the Ioniq 5 offers a range of maximum 384 kilometers from a battery with 58 kilowatt hours capacity and costs from 41,900 euros. A Polestar 2 costs nearly the same and delivers a range of up to 440 kilometers from a 64 kilowatt hour battery. The powertrain of the base model has a maximum output of 165 kilowatt, but unlike the Hyundai, the power goes to the front wheels. You can get a Volkswagen ID.4 with rear-wheel drive from around 37,500 euros. Its 52 kilowatt-hour battery, together with the 109 kilowatt powertrain, ensures a maximum range of 346 kilometers. What I really do like with the Ioniq 5 is the new big head-up display that really works perfectly and that features augmented reality. And with that, it provides you with extra information on top of the amount of speed, or the amount of speed you're allowed to drive, or information regarding to driver assistance systems or routing. So you do find some extra arrows on top of it with augmented reality that really provides you with the directions you have to drive, or with the information you need to know in your real world picture. On top of that, you do have this full digital cockpit, which works perfectly. It features different view modes. It's really nice to look at. It's easy to get the data out of it. But for both, if you're as tall as I am, which means nearly 2 meters, if you sit upright in your car while driving, you do have a problem with the head-up display, which means wherever you position it, it is never so that you can see everything on it. So the top is always cut off a bit. And this is the same with this digital cockpit. It works perfectly, as said, but because of the steering wheel, wherever or however I adjust it, always the top is something where I can't see everything. For me, to be honest, this is not a big deal. I do see everything I need to see, and I'm used to that because I'm a tall person. But before you order the car, or before you order the extra head-up display, do yourself a favor, try out if this is something you will always complain about, or if this is something you would say, fine, I'm happy with it, I still like it. This is just one way of opening this lid. The other one is to press your thumb on the lid, then it will open as well. But very important is underneath you do find this, which means you can use a power charger or quick charger with the Ioniq 5. And that car features two different battery sizes. One is the small one is 58 kilowatt hours, and the bigger one, the one we're having, is 72.6 kilowatt hours. And with this battery on board, but with a smaller rear-wheel powered powertrain, that car delivers a maximum range of up to 480 kilometers. That's not a big number for up-to-date electric vehicles, but another big thing with the Ioniq 5 is that car features the 800-volt charging technology. And with that and a proper charger, you can recharge 100 kilometers of range in only 5 minutes. Or if you want, from 10 to 80% of battery in only 18 minutes. And that's not everything that car delivers regarding to charging and battery. The Ioniq not only has a normal 230-volt socket on the front of the back seat. The adapter from the trunk can also be used to convert the connection for charging the vehicle into a socket. The maximum output that can be delivered is 3.6 kilowatt, which is enough for all devices of daily use. If you tick the right boxes, the Ioniq 5 can provide you partly autonomous driving, which means you do have, like we have, an adaptive cruise control, which really keeps the distance to the guy in front of you. On top of that, we do have traffic sign recognition, and this works together with the speed limit, which means whenever there is a sign that says we change from 100 to 80 or the other way around, the car will adjust the speed to the speed which is allowed. And this is something I really do like a lot, because with that you will not get any speeding tickets anymore. On top of this, we do have a very nice lane follow assist, which really keeps the car in the center of the road for a very long period, easy to handle and quite comfortably. And on top of this, that car features a blind spot system, but that works together with the cameras. And that means whenever I use the indicator, you can see I get an extra picture from the camera at the mirrors, which will here be used to really reduce the blind spot problems. Our car, with the big battery and the all-wheel drive, strong powertrain, should take up to 18.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometer driven. That's what the data sheet of the car says. Today we drove more than 100 kilometers and we did reset after charging. And as you can see, we still have a number in our display of only 18.6, which is something we did achieve after driving through the city, on the motorway and on the countryside. And I think that's quite a nice number. That was my very first drive in the new Hyundai Ioniq 5. And to make a long story short, I absolutely do like that car, because look at it. It's an absolute pleasure to look at. On top of this, it delivers an enjoyable drive, and the car consumption was as Hyundai promises it. On top of this, we do find very new driver assistance, safety systems, a very good infotainment, and a very interesting engine with loads of power. On top of this, the car promises a very good range, and with the 800-volt charging technology, that really is a statement. So I'm really looking forward to see how quick people will order that car, and I'm very interested to have a long distance drive with it to see how much it really takes, or how often you really have to charge on a long trip. But until then, I have to say, for me, that really is not only a statement, that's a perfect package for a battery electric vehicle in that segment.